A very good morning to all the viewers and listeners of Hello Kolkata, a Kolkata Calling podcast series. Like every Sunday, we are back with a very, very special guest today. Our guest today is someone who has spent nearly 3 decades working at the intersection of technology, policy, and nation building. He is an alumnus of Jawaharlal Nehru University, MTech and PhD from IIT Kharagpur, management programs from IIM Ahmedabad, JBIMS, and multiple other programs from IIT Delhi, IIT Bombay, IIT Nagpur. He is a former scientist F with the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, project head at RITES, joint director at Directorate of Marine Engineering, Indian Navy, and the founding program director of iDEX-DIO, the Defense Innovation Organization under the Government of India. In his earlier career, he's been officer in charge of Propulsion System Integration, Directorate of Naval Design, Indian Navy, joint director of Fleet Management and Maintenance, Naval Headquarters. Our guest today is Dr. V.K. Rai. Today, he is the CEO of IIM Calcutta Innovation Park. He leads one of India's most respected incubation and innovation platforms, supporting entrepreneurs across the East, Northeast, and beyond across the whole country, with a strong focus on social impact, women-led enterprises, and livelihood creation. Sir is guided by his powerful philosophy of doing well by doing good, building startups and ecosystems that just don't scale businesses, but also change lives. A short note about IIM Calcutta Innovation Park, and we'll listen to more from Sir about his role and what IIM Calcutta Innovation Park is doing. Under the aegis of IIM Calcutta, dedicated to fostering innovation, entrepreneurship, and social impact across India, especially in the East and Northeast. Since its inception, IIMCIP has supported thousands of entrepreneurs and funded hundreds of startups and helped build scalable ventures across sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing, sustainability, and social innovation. Without further ado, I'll introduce Sir onto the main stage and we'll listen to his journey and his role at IIM Calcutta Innovation Park. Sir, welcome to Hello Kolkata. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this introduction. And it's a pleasure for me to be talking on this forum of Hello Kolkata.
Yeah. So your introduction would have been very long if I had gone into everything, because it's such a wonderful accomplishment across 3 decades. Sir, before we get into IIMCIP, why it matters for India's innovation story, we'd like to know a little bit about your journey as well, and then we'll flow into IIM Calcutta Innovation Park. Tell us a little bit about your early days, early influences. You got, attracted to a certain kind of career. Tell us about that journey.
My journey, I would say, that started initially from a science school based out of Nainital, and science school Ghodakhal, where I did my initial schooling from. And as you know, that science schools have the mandate for preparing students to join armed forces. And I joined National Defense Academy. And this was in 1992. And thereafter, it's been 33, 34 years now, almost. And I've worked with Indian Navy in their technical branch for about 22 years. And for last close to a decade, I've been working in the field of entrepreneurship, innovation, indigenization. And this is a field which is very close to me. And I'm happy to be now heading this institution, this prestigious Section 8 company, IIM Calcutta Innovation Park. Talking about my journey, as I mentioned, that I've been into the technical branch of Indian Navy. So main focus has been towards handling men and machinery. Of course, men comes along with, when you talk about armed forces, handling men and machinery, of course, being a technical branch officer, it came along with that. What I realized in over 2 decades there is that there's huge dependency on imports when it comes to the major machinery on board ships, the firefighting systems, the weaponry, almost everything. If we talk about during the initial phases of growth of Indian Navy, there was huge dependency on for imports. And for the major machinery and weapon systems, this has still largely remained so. So somewhere in the back of my mind, I always had this idea that let's get into indigenization in a big way. Why can't we make these machinery ourselves? And we have a very, very strong legacy of entrepreneurship, which of course during later things we'll talk more on this. So talking about legacy and especially being based out of Calcutta, it's always a great honor in the city which gave birth to the Swadeshi movement.
Absolutely.
So very happy to be sharing my views, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship and promoting science and technology. If I talk about last 7-8 years after my retirement from armed forces, I joined since I'd done my management course from IIM Ahmedabad, I was nominated a jury member for selection of startups for running this iDEX scheme. And later on, I joined as founding program director to run this entire scheme to onboard startups and infuse innovations into armed forces. Of course, this was the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister, where he brought out that this was in 2017 and 18. In that during that period, he brought out that we had already become third largest startup ecosystem in the world, and at the same time, we still had a strong dependency. Our armed forces a strong dependency on imports. So what was suggested was that why can't we marry the startup ecosystem to meet some of the requirements for armed forces, some of the innovations that are being taken from abroad, why can't we meet those requirements through some startups, indigenous startups? And that's how this idea of forming a company called Defense Innovation Organization, through which we run this scheme called iDEX, was started. And I was fortunate, I had just completed my management course from IIM Ahmedabad. I'd become their alumnus. I was also alumnus of IIT Kharagpur, and I was at the right time and right place to sort of get selected for this particular role. And then that's how the DIO and iDEX was born. And through this, we are happy to leverage a lot of startups and new innovations, getting them into armed forces. And subsequently, close to 2 years working in this particular sector, I moved to DST Technology Development Board as scientist staff. And there the role was similar, funding commercialization of indigenous technologies, handling national awards, handling programs under GITA, that is Global Innovation Technology Alliance, which was of course later closed. But that was again a very unique experience where I could see the kind of support that government was giving to commercialization of indigenous technologies, and in general, the indigenization efforts from corporate side. So that was a great learning. And subsequently, after having served in DST, I joined one of the companies which was designed to start indigenization of marine gas turbine engines, the engines which propel our frontline warships. Those engines, there was a plan to start making them in India. And I joined this company and worked there for another 2 years plus. And subsequently, this requirement for joining IIMCIP happened, and that's how I came here with all this knowledge or skill set, whatever you may say.
Yeah. No, and we are very lucky to have somebody with your background, with your experience at the helm of this institution.
Yeah.
And sir, I'm sure a lot of your background, the discipline you also bring in to your role as administrator, as CEO. Very curious to get into your role today at IIMCIP. Obviously, you mentioned that this opportunity came up while you were on this assignment, and you took it up. Very curious to understand how has your experience been in this role so far, and if you can tell us a little bit about the background of this program. What was the intent behind it, Obviously, there's a beautiful tagline of IIM Calcutta Innovation Park, doing well by doing good. What that means for you personally, and also for the work that you and the whole team is doing.
Okay, so I think this encompasses entire thing that that we are having this event about. So let me first talk about uh, the city of Kolkata, the city of joy,
Sure.
and it's not new to me. I did my MTech and PhD from IIT Kharagpur, so city is not new to me. Uh, Nor is the the language Bengali and the love for this Bengali language. Certainly, I picked up a lot of it, and still, আমি বুঝতে পারি, বলতে পারি না.
That
I do understand,
wonderful.
but so I'll just cover a bit about the Kolkata, the city of joy, and I
Sure.
must say that is the new innovation capital of India. If by some measure, if I could say that, or if I could be allowed to say that. So this city has a very strong legacy of education, science, and intellectual leadership. So its legacy and traditional history gives a very real foundation to grow into an innovation hub of our country, not just a modern aspiration. And so if we sort of go back a little bit into history, we realize that it was the intellectual and educational capital of our country during 19th and 20th centuries, which led to Bengal Renaissance and thinkers like Rajaram Mohan Roy, Ishwar Chand Vidyasagar, Bankim Chattopadhyay, Swami Vivekanand. They all sparked reforms in science, education, social systems, and rational thinking. Exactly, which is the mindset which today young entrepreneurs require, or the mindset that innovation requires. And this city is also home to a lot of prestigious institutions like IIT Kharagpur, of course, the oldest IIT. IIM Calcutta, where I'm sitting right now, this is again the oldest IIM of our country, which was set up initially. And Indian Statistical Institute, IACS, Jadavpur University, you name the most prestigious institutions of our country, and they are all in and around this place, Calcutta. And these are, the oldest and most respected scientific institutions. If we talk about, for example, Indian Association for Cultivation Science, IACS, Dr. C.V. Raman, he discovered Raman effect here in this institute. We talk about ISI, that is Statistical Institute. It was founded by Dr. P.C. Mahalanobis, who laid the foundation of modern statistics in our country and data science in our country. Data science is something that we talk about today. Now it is the most favorite buzzword, data science and AI and ML. You find all the young engineers, aspiring BTech students talk about it. And this was started more than a century ago by Dr. P.C. Mahalanobis. And the other thing is that Calcutta, it offers very affordable infrastructure for growing startup ecosystem. And that makes the young innovators very attractive place to come and work on. You have availability of mentorship, technical mentorship, as well as very, very affordable infrastructure. And that's where the city plays a very pioneering role in molding the industrial and technological development. So everything emerged from here, from this. And not missing out on the rich cultural and creativity, literature, art, technology, which encourages the indigenous and original thinking. And all these adapting to a new technology very in early days of 19th and 20th century. So when I was in Kharagpur, we used to have these debate, literature theaters, and also the concept of adda, what people gather around for a cup of tea and all. And these are the concepts which encourage questioning, discussion, and indigenous original thought. And that's how, the innovation per se does not grow in labs. It grows in these addas and these theaters or roadside shows that we used to do as a student in Kharagpur, and generally it's quite prevalent in entire Calcutta. So I think we can emerge as a major hub for inclusive and sustainable innovation in India. We have the right talent, right technical pool of mind, and we are also very affordable, like I brought it out in the beginning. So
Yeah.
it has always emphasized inclusive growth and public education, producing thinkers, scientists, entrepreneurs from very diverse backgrounds. So this tradition of accessible knowledge makes this whole place very, very apt for innovation. It has a very long entrepreneurship legacy. Industries like Dwarkanath Tagore, Tagore Business Enterprises, which was set up in the 19th century. And it was back then a major center of trade, banking, and shipping. And then we had jute industry taking up during the colonial period, uh, fostering India's first generation of business leaders. And then institutions like Calcutta Stock Exchange were born in those days,
Yep.
British times, and early Indian bank system, which sort of formalized the entrepreneurial activities of our country. And we firmly at IIMCIP, since we are living the legacy of this beautiful city, we consider that entrepreneurship is not about building unicorns. It
Mm-hmm.
is it is about lifting the bottom of the pyramid, making an impact to the grassroots level, meeting unmet needs of the marginalized community, and such actions would always be there in the larger interest of humanity. So
Absolutely.
we are the incubator, which is based out of the oldest IIM of our country, and we feel that startup is not just a business. It is a courage to solve problem, and we consider ourselves to be enabler in that respect, in terms of helping out the startups, entrepreneurs, equipping them with the relevant technical expertise, helping them with certain amount of funds where needed, and yes, see to it that they grow and they help our nation in the entrepreneurial sector growth.
Yeah. No, I think very, very beautifully elaborated, sir. I think, yes, we are extremely proud of our history and legacy and heritage. And I think that's also reflected in our institutions that still hold, and stand tall. And IIM Calcutta is one of them for sure. Also very curious to understand, because sir, you talked about multiple institutions of eminence from this part of the country. What, and since you've also had this very rigorous academic background, with your research days at IIT Kharagpur, what role have you seen academia play in, I would say, improving entrepreneurship, supporting entrepreneurship, bringing innovation? If you can share some light on that.
So academia plays a very, very vital, very, very essential role in terms of promoting entrepreneurship. So I'm reminded of one of the dohas that I read long time back, which essentially talks about a perfume seller.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel the academic institutions are like those perfume sellers. If they come to your house, even if
Yeah.
they don't sell a perfume, still the entire house is filled with fragrance for a couple of
Mm-hmm.
days at least. So the presence of these academias around us, academia, the institutes, renowned institutes, is something like that. So we have IIM Calcutta entire leadership, professors from IIM Calcutta who are available to us to support any kind of business mentoring that some of our startups may require. We have ISI here, Statistical Institute, one of its kind in the nation. We have IIT Kharagpur, the oldest one. We have Jadavpur University. So all these are at our call. There are professors who've been onboarded already with technical mentoring to the startups whom we incubate. And so if we talk about the support which is given to startups, right from there, if we talk about the entire journey of any entrepreneur, say you call it womb to tomb structure
Mm-hmm.
for supporting the startups. So initially they start with an ideation stage. So when they start with ideation stage, a big challenge for us is to assess whether the idea which young entrepreneur is bringing to the table, is it viable, is it technically viable, and then we get into, once we have a very robust methodology to route it through a mentorship clinic, and then we assess whether it's technically viable. And once it is found that is viable, then we get into it's the financial aspect of it, commercial aspect of it. Is it filling a need of society? Is it has it identified some gap somewhere and it's trying to meet those needs? And then if it is so, then how commercially viable the idea is. Is it going to be feasible with certain amount of capital that we can infuse, or does it require huge amount of funding and thus may make the whole process non-viable? So this entire thing is to be undertaken through incubators like us. So initially, a lot of people thought that there are only two things to be done. One is that you have academia, which is giving the technical knowledge, and you have the industry, which is going to implement that technical knowledge into product. So in between this gap, which was there, which is now being fulfilled by incubators, we what we call as these institutions as incubators. So we are incubators of ideas, we are incubators of technology, we are incubators for the startups. And our role is primarily to ensure that whatever deep tech papers that keep getting churned out on a 24/7 basis from academia, to see to it how much of that can be commercialized into some kind of a product, and how much of those products are have a utility for our society, for our common man. And that is where the role of academia comes into play in terms of the technical institutes as well as management institutes. And we as incubator who sort of do the handshake, facilitate the handshake between both, and ensure that the entrepreneur or the startup is able to take all the support. And the most important thing, the third thing that comes to ensure that entrepreneurship does not die out early, is financial support during their valley of death. That is, initial time, the seed funding support or pre-seed support is very, very crucial during the initial phase of the startups. So idea initial requires a lot of capital infusion. So it is our duty to ensure that there's some source of capital, either in terms of non-returnable grant or fund is available to these startups to at least formalize their idea, get into a robust design for their ideas to implement it, and then take it to a prototyping stage.
Yeah, and sir, I think this is obviously very much in your line of experience, because you've also worked in research in one of such institutions. Your prototype, your project, sort of got you into the career that took off for the next 20 years. But sir, one thing that you said that was very, very, I would say, important, and I want to underline that obviously there is a big boom of startups in the whole of the country. And there are certain centers where startups and founders are really glorified by what is the funding they have raised, what is their valuation, billions of dollars of valuation. So that becomes headlines. But what IIM Calcutta Innovation Park is doing differently is focusing on sustainable startups which actually have positive impact on society. And I'll get into some of those examples with you. But the approach is very different. And I guess that is where this importance of this tagline comes, that doing well by doing good. It's not growth at all costs. And you said that, we are not looking for the next unicorn here, but we are trying to build more sustainable startups.
That is true. So, very right. So our aim is to ensure, like I said, that we are not into looking at growing unicorns with us. We are looking at more in terms of working with the grassroots innovators, working for them, working with them,
Mm-hmm.
and stay grounded, in touch with the reality, and strive to sort of lift the bottom of the pyramid that is in the societal structure. And in the process, if a few unicorns are born, I think that's coincidental and
Yeah.
not incidental, I may say, but it is certainly not the central idea for us. So we are not against this idea of having unicorns, definitely, but our primary focus is ensuring that we stay grounded and support inclusive innovation,
Yeah.
inclusive innovation in terms of yes, ensuring that the entire livelihood bottom of the pyramid is it grows and it succeeds and it benefits from whatever innovations we do. And in the process, definitely we'll love to have some unicorns getting born.
Yeah, yeah. And sir, would be great to hear from you, obviously, because within the IIMCIP portfolio there are so many innovative startups, whether it's in the agri sector, manufacturing sector, and more importantly, women-led enterprises, which often are overlooked in the national scheme
Yes.
of things, in the race to funding, in the race to valuation. If you want to share some stories that have really touched your heart from IIMCIP.
Yeah, definitely. There are many of them, a lot of them. In fact, one of our incubatees, which was initially supported by us, uh, called Dehat. So it is Dehat is also a term which refers to villages, rural
Yeah,
areas, and it is spelled as DEHAAT. So heart is
yeah,
also a market. So it
yeah.
talks about kind of a rural markets, agri-tech uh, startup, and so this was one of the earliest startups that we had incubated, and now it's uh, a big name now, unicorn.
Yeah.
They've served about 13 million plus farmers, and their presence is more than 12 states across our country. And they're basically about AI powered crop advisory group. They also give market linkages. They undertake soil testing and provide all necessary advice to the farmers and
Brilliant.
connect them with multiple sources of revenues. So this is a big name. Talking about another in the health tech space, there's one startup we supported, 5C Network, that is
Hmm.
5 Charlie Network, and they are a digital radiology platform who are serving about more than 2,000 hospitals in 300 plus cities, small and tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities, and analyzing very complex cases of radiology within few minutes.
Wow.
Some more creative startups, we always tend to think that things from Northeast are less tech based, but
Hmm.
we've been able to again nurture one of the startups which is from Northeast, from Assam, is My3D Meta, and they are an AI platform making 3D design affordable. So they are focusing mainly on empowering artists rather than using AI to replace them. So there are, and of course, one of our favorite ones. It's a woman-led farm Didi. Is one
Hmm.
of the startups that we have supported, and this was featured in Shark Tank India also, and they have helped
Yeah.
over 550 rural women to turn traditional recipes into a very thriving business. And some of the startups who are also supported by us from Meghalaya, they work with persons with disabilities. One of them also had the honor of meeting Honorable President of India and uh, sort of getting felicitated. So there are huge amount of success stories we have, and we are happy that we are able to make our presence felt in this entire region, especially the northeast and eastern states, where tech penetration has been slightly less, but we've definitely not not let that be a disadvantage to the people of northern states. We are augmenting those shortfalls through the technical institutes, through the academia that we have.
Wonderfully said, sir. And some of these examples that you mentioned obviously make, for very, very proud reading, because obviously what Dehat has done, what Farm Didi has done, it's excellent work. And not just making it a sustainable business, also, bringing in profitability as well as livelihood. And this is where I'm a little curious to ask you, sir. You mentioned Northeast, and Northeast historically has sort of, not been considered a hub for innovation, a hub for entrepreneurship and startups. But as you mentioned, from the IIMCIP portfolio, there are some wonderful, young startups, entrepreneurs coming out. What do you see from, from your experience, the unique challenges of East and Northeast, and also on the flip side, the advantages of coming from East and Northeast?
So, few points which come to my mind is that yes, the talent, which is there is a limited access to specialized skill set of people in that region because of because you may say the topography is such that there's no space for having a very large scale industry there, and therefore startups and all, they struggle to find out the right kind of talent pool as which is commonly available. If you go to Bangalore, you go to Delhi, is very, very commonly available. But in the Northeast, the startups would struggle to find the talent, and it's a very vicious cycle. So startups do not have right talent. They will not grow at the pace or at the trajectory which you try to design for them. And because they are not growing at that faster pace, the talented pool will not be interested in getting onboarded with such startups.
Yeah.
Okay. So a good startup would attract good pool, and good pool make it go better, and then that would improve. But that does not seem to be happening here because of I said that there is limited access to specialized skill set of personnel, and talented pool people therefore do not find such startup options very lucrative. They prefer to join at other places. The second issue that I must say is of the funding. So a lot of venture capitalists, they would tend to benchmark these startups in Northeast against the backdrop of those which are based out of metros, where the dynamics of those startups are entirely different. So seed grants and early stage support from the state and central government, and some of the capital infusion through the incubators like IIM Calcutta Innovation Park. While these will enable the ventures to validate their ideas and build initial traction, but this cannot be sustainable. For sustaining the business of a startup, we need more capital infusion, and that is where the venture capitalists, their role comes into play. And a lot of them, they tend to look the other side when it comes to funding startups in the Northeast, because they know this gap. So this is the funding gap which the government is trying to address to quite some extent. But we have seen that a lot of these very, very promising ventures, often they plateau prematurely, or they are unable to transition from small sustainable business to high profit and sustainable growth because of lack of funding at the right time. So this is a second big challenge that we have. And third is again the market size. Because of low densely populated area, the domestic consumption itself is very less. That makes it the entire market very traditional, and scalability matrix is very low. And that, because of low indigenous market size, that brings me to the fourth issue of expensive logistics infrastructure. Now, because local consumption is less, we need to have very good logistics infrastructure to ensure that these things are transported to the other states, to northern and western states, central states, where their consumption can be utilized. Now, because of the road connectivity, which becomes very, very doubtful and highly unreliable during the monsoons, with landslides, etc., quite often happening, the warehouse facilities, which have a limited real estate size, so their size is very limited. You find that most of the stuff which is grown in Northeast has to be transported to either West Bengal or brought to the mainland in the central states, and the large warehouses presence is only possible there where the real estate is higher. So this becomes a big challenge, and eventually what happens is that when a startup incurs so much of expenses on transportation and logistics supply chain, the product eventually becomes so you can imagine a similar product coming from, say, Arunachal Pradesh would be at least 2 to 3 times more expensive if it was grown locally, say in Hyderabad or in Delhi or in any other part of our country. And with this, like I said, it's a very vicious cycle. If there is relatively low growth, exposure of people is also less, and the exposure of people is less. So imagine some startup interacting in places like Bangalore, where they get to meet all big swords, many founders who are already unicorns. They get to interact with them. They are constantly surrounded by success stories of people who have done well in their business. So they have a big picture. They can imagine a few tons of supply, whereas in the Northeast, startup working in same segment, same sector would imagine that, okay, few kilos of product would be good enough, or maybe few quintals would be good enough. Can't imagine getting to hundreds of tons and transporting them to the other cities. So that exposure is very less, and it is incumbent upon institutions like us that we bridge this exposure gap, we bridge this technology gap, we bridge all that. Of course, we have also our limitations, and though in our best ways we are trying to ensure that they do not suffer due to any technology bandwidth, or they do not suffer due to any logistic supply chain or any funding requirements. So we have certain schemes from various central government and other state governments. Through that, we try to infuse capital into the startups whenever required. And through the collaborations with academia that we have, we try to bring the right kind of mentors to guide the startups to sort of grow and accelerate with the trajectory that we want them to. And this is all. We hope that, yes, our efforts are useful to the startups and helps them.
And sir, I think the point that you mentioned, I think to take that point a little forward, is obviously there is some structural challenges for the Northeast, and obviously the IIM Calcutta Innovation Park is doing a lot to bridge those gaps, those challenges. Very curious to understand. You mentioned lack of VC funding, lack of exposure. But there are also certain, as you mentioned, government schemes, government programs that are specifically targeted to make the entrepreneurship development more inclusive. Tell us a little bit about the experience of working with governments, CSR initiatives, corporates who exist in this area, East, Northeast, or even from beyond this side of the country. What has been the experience of IIMCIP in their partnerships with government programs, CSR programs, and corporate sponsorship, corporate partnership?
So we are that way fortunate in terms of being the nodal agency, as we've been onboarded by many of the ministries as implementation partners and some of the states as knowledge partners, to ensure that whatever schemes come from central or the state governments, we are able to facilitate whatever advantages and whatever capital comes, we are able to facilitate that to startups in terms of infrastructure, in terms of providing lab facilities from academia-based incubators or from academias directly, or even infuse capital towards meeting the requirements which they are meant for. So we are running a couple of programs from DST, that is the Ministry of Science and Technology, again from METI, Ministry of Electronics and IT. And in terms of running CSR schemes of various corporates, we are again doing Tata Social Enterprise Challenge. We are working with Titan, we are working with Maruti Suzuki, and there are a whole lot of government and large corporates whose schemes we are running, either as a nodal agency for implementing it, or as a nodal agency for sharing knowledge and as a knowledge partner for them. And of course, these things are guided by the mandate which that particular institution or that particular funding agency may have. So if ministry has a sort of mandate that only startups which are at, say, TRL 6, 7 and above could be funded. So we get into assessment, holistic assessment of these startups, whether they are actually at those technology readiness levels, which is demanded out of the scheme. And then we also onboard them, sort of guide them and handhold them to ensure that they meet the requirements of the particular mandate, and then they get onboarded on that particular scheme for funding support eventually. So we are running quite a few of them with central government as well as with private corporate, and we are looking forward to closing some of the deals even now as we talk. We are very soon going to be signing with Tripura government for running their rural incubation program. And so it's been good. It's been very, very encouraging. In fact, all these schemes that are coming down, percolating down from center to us and the state government schemes, they're very encouraging. And we find that they are totally aligned to our mandate, which is inclusive growth, where we are trying to create very reliable revenue pathway and not just nurturing the idea and sort of leaving it at that. So it's been good. It's been quite a encouraging journey so far.
Yeah. And sir, obviously, you've worked in tech, in heavy engineering, deep tech, and now you're looking at startups, entrepreneurship in deep tech as well. How do you see India's, and obviously we can focus on East and Northeast as well, India's opportunity in the deep tech as well as social innovation, because these two sometimes can be contrary to each other, but they should not be, because as you mentioned that your earliest inspiration was that why can't we bring deep tech and grow them in-house indigenously rather than importing deep tech from outside. So what is your view on our current India's opportunity in deep tech, combining it with the social innovation aspect, which is a reality of India?
With my background, I've been very vocal about translational research. I have been talking about this in various forums that aim of any academia or any institution is not just to churn out papers after papers, PhD papers, research scholars coming out of academia. Our aim should be how much of that can be translated into products which are useful for the society at large. Mm-hmm. And therefore, what good is a deep tech if it is not able to address the unmet needs of those who are on the sidelines, those who are marginalized, the communities which require these products. So if hunger is still the issue, does it matter whether I've been able to send a person on moon? No. So eventually it is a balance of both, balance of deep tech as well as balance of meeting the societal needs, meeting the challenges that marginalized communities still face. So the need is to have a very judicious balance between both, and that is where the knowledge partners like incubators, they come very handy. So the task of juggling this balance between social innovation and deep tech innovation is given to the incubators. Is not limited to. It's not the forte of IITs or IIMs. So here we are bridging that gap, trying to marry the social innovation with technology and create. And in fact, in the Northeast, through some of our schemes, we've been able to create crorepati didis. We were talking about lakpati, but we are able to create crorepati didis, and this is primarily because we've been able to sort of create a handshake between deep tech and meet the societal requirements, needs of the people there, and address some of the social challenges there. So we believe that we are not we call ourselves expert, but expert in the sense that we're not one who know everything, but we have done possibly taken all the routes, made all the mistakes that is possible to do in a very narrow sectorial field, and therefore we have that experience and expertise to guide the startups where to focus, where to put the money, any penny that comes from the government or from the state government or central or through any of the schemes or through corporate CSR. We exactly know how judiciously to utilize that, how much to invest on technology, how much to invest in terms of societal challenges, and this whole thing stems from the expertise that comes from a deep practical experience that we have, the trial and error that we have already used a number of times, and now finally we have made our process which is very robust, and not just the theory alone, which we bring to the table as knowledge partner and with our personal professional degrees that we have.
Yeah. And sir, I think that those are really positives that are coming out, positive stories that are coming out from IIM Calcutta Innovation Park. If you had some message to give to founders, who may have not yet reached out to an incubator, what would your advice be to help clarify some, misunderstandings that they may have about being a part of an incubation program? And what would your advice be for young students or young entrepreneurs who are, let's say, not, as you mentioned, not in the metro, do not get that exposure, who are in non-metro backgrounds, remote rural backgrounds, but are interested in building something of their own for their own community? What would your advice to these kind of founders be?
There's a famous saying that if you get on board a wrong train, the longer you take to get down, the more expensive your return trip will be.
True.
So that is where we see ourselves as an enabler. So entrepreneurs' journey is something which is very uncertain, undecided. So they come up with really ideas which may look very vague to them, and they are totally unsure of their ideas. But we are the ones who have to judge whether they are on a wrong train or they are in the right direction, and how to guide them, how to ensure that the whole idea is curated in such a way that the entrepreneur is encouraged to leverage on his own skill sets, leverage on the skill sets that we as incubator will bring to the table, and we identify what are the gaps, where does that startup or entrepreneur require technical intervention, where does the startup require any intervention from management side, from the business ideas, and at what point of time the startup requires capital infusion, and to eventually ensure that whatever is the growth strategy that is decided for the startup, at least that is met. So Now it is, we are quite happy that nowadays there's hardly anyone who is not aware of this
Yeah.
whole system of startups. So uh, we've come a long way now. Everyone in the village also has access to mobile, has access to
Yeah.
data, which is very affordable, and awareness about starting an idea is there. I've been to a number of forums where we talk about what are the schemes from the central government and from the state governments which are into funding entrepreneurship. And I'm really happy that from tier 2, tier 3 cities also, there are numerous startups which are coming up with really brilliant ideas. And they're aware which schemes can support them at pre-seed stage, which are the schemes which can give them at a seed stage, which ones during the prototyping stage, and which ones will help them into commercialization stage. So there are a whole lot of schemes which are uh, uh, promulgated by various ministries, and most of it is going through incubators like us, and a lot of them are directly reaching the startups or entrepreneurs who intend to sort of get into that field.
I know, sir, we budgeted 1 hour. We crossed that mark, so I'll be very quick with my last few questions, and then we'll end with closing words. We have a small, short rapid fire for you. So essentially, the first word or first phrase that comes to your mind without thinking too much. While obviously you've spoken a lot about indigenous, homegrown startups, products. One myth about startups that you want to break or change.
I don't think there is any myth about startups. Only thing is a difficult journey, and most of us do not sustain that.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually, what happens is that startup becomes baby of somebody who is already seen that, done that, and is affluent, who is able to stand on his own feet or her own feet, and then it becomes sort of pursuing the passion through a startup.
Yeah.
So it's not really myth, but it's certainly a difficult journey for those who are not so affluent.
Yeah. Yeah. One sector, sir, you think India is underestimating and which has a lot of potential.
So, imbibing AI, all forms of AI, whether it is generative AI or responsible AI, all forms of AI, I think there's a huge potential which we are yet to sort of take advantage of.
Yeah. 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 Um, I know, sir, you had this, wonderful, I would say, pedigree of education, career, but one leadership habit, even today, you value the most for yourself, and when you look for it in others as well.
Oh, it's a character, no doubt.
Correct.
It is character. So even while assessing the startups, the character of the founders is most important. That
Yes.
shows where they want to be, what they want to do, uh, what gaps have they identified, what are they trying to fulfill, which gap they are trying to fulfill, and I think that's something which I value most.
Wonderful, sir. And obviously, you started with your love for the city, but if you had to sum up Kolkata in one word or one phrase, what would that be?
Well, that I've already said, that from city of joy to city of innovation capital of our country. I would love
Wonderful,
to
sir.
see Kolkata emerging as the innovation capital of our country. And
Wonderful.
I've told you examples. There's no
Absolutely.
dearth of examples, and there's no reason why we should emerge as the innovation capital of our country.
Absolutely. Sir, before we let you go, I know we overstayed our time, but uh, one message to founders on how they can engage with IIMCIP in their incubation programs, in their schemes, in their grants, in their fellowships, if you had to share a little bit about that.
Okay, so the process of engagement is very simple. You have to go to our website, imcip.org. It can't be more simpler than this. So I think when it comes to entrepreneurship, except for the spelling of this word entrepreneurship, the rest everything is very easy. You
Yeah.
just have to make up your mind that you want to do something unique. You have a passion, you want to pursue that passion. And once you have made up your mind to pursue a passion, IIMCIP.org,
Wonderful.
www.imcip.org. That's the website to come to.
Yeah.
And we are here. We are here to nurture your idea, to accelerate your ideas, and to provide all necessary wherewithal to sort of convert your idea into a beautiful product that you want to.
Wonderful. This has been a really inspiring session, sir. Thank you so much for firstly taking the time out of your busy schedule. Secondly, talking to us at length, sharing your story, your personal journey, your inspirations, and also the amazing work that IIM Calcutta Innovation Park is doing for helping entrepreneurs, for funding startups. We are really, really thankful. And before we close our podcast today, we would like to thank IIM Calcutta Innovation Park. We'd like to thank you, Dr. Rai. We'd like to thank Priya for helping us facilitate this session. And for all the viewers and listeners, obviously, you have heard directly from Dr. Rai, but IIM Calcutta Innovation Park is a wonderful incubation and innovation platform, building high impact startups with a strong focus, as Sir said, on social good, livelihoods, and inclusive development. Doing well by doing good is their motto. And for us at Kolkata Calling, we are extremely privileged to have heard from you, sir, and doing our little bit in sharing and spreading the message of this inclusive development, innovation, homegrown innovation from India, for India. And Kolkata, Bengal, Northeast, we are all part of the same India. We want to see more amazing entrepreneurs and founders come up and do wonders. So we do our little bit in spreading word in our community ecosystem for more entrepreneurs to come and be a part of this program. Before I close, sir, any closing words, parting words from you?
First of all, thanks, Subit, for getting Kolkata calling to us. And we are really excited and we are privileged to have IIMCIP on your portal and to get introduced through Kolkata calling. I think there couldn't be a better platform to showcase IIMCIP's achievements and our trajectory than this platform. So I think my only message to or advice to through this podcast would be to young entrepreneurs, young innovators. I'll rather share a small quote. I think it's by Dr. Iqbal. I'm not sure. The quote says, "पर लगा देती है राहे शौक में दिल की उमंग, उड़ के मंजिल पर पहुंच, तकलीदे नक्शे पा न कर." So it says that if your passion and profession they match, rahe shauk or dil ki umang, if they match together, then do not follow others' footsteps. उड़ के मंजिल पे पहुंच, दूसरों के तकलीदे नक्शे पा, दूसरों के पाँव के footsteps, don't follow the others' footsteps. You fly and reach to your destination. So if you have a passion as a young budding entrepreneur, you have a passion, do reach out to IIMCIP and we'll be happy to be a part of your growth journey, and we'll be happy to contribute with best of our resources and best of our abilities.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Beautiful
Thanks
thought. With that, we'll close our session. Thank you so much, Dr. Rai. Thank you to the entire IIMCIP team.
Pleasure, Shubhit.
Thank you.
Pleasure being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.